The arrival of the Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions. Act 9. Sutra. Then in the East, beyond universes as numerous as the sands of the Ganges and at the limit of these universes, there is a universe called Tapao where there is a Buddha called Pao-Tasi who is now teaching the Prajnaparamita to the Bodhisattva Mahasattvas. Sastra. Question. It has been said by the Buddha that the universes are innumerable and infinite. How can you speak of a universe situated at the limits of the universe? To talk in this way is to fall into the heretical theory of a finite world. If the universes were limited in number, the total number of beings would at length be exhausted. Actually, each one of the innumerable Buddhas saves an immense and incalculable number of beings and introduces them into nirvana without residue. If there were not always new beings, their number would finally be exhausted. Answer. The Buddhist Sutras do indeed say that the universes are infinite in number, but this is a statement of a practical order and not a true doctrine. In the same way, although the sant does not exist after death, in practice we say that the sant exists after death. All of this is in the 14 difficult questions on which the Buddha refused to comment. To say that the world is finite or to say that the world is infinite are both wrong views. If the universes were infinite in number, the Buddha would not possess omniscience, for omniscience is a universal wisdom from which nothing can escape. If the universes were infinite, some things would escape him. On the other hand, if the universes were finite in number, you would run up against the difficulty you raised above in your question. Therefore both solutions are wrong. Why? Because by being based on the infinite, one destroys the finite. The ratnavati universe is not the limit of all the universes, but the Buddha Sakyamuni abides in the extreme limit so that beings may be saved. Similarly, when one abides at the boundary of a country, one does not claim to be abiding at the boundary of jambudvipa. If the universes were infinite, the Buddha would not be omniscient. His wisdom being immense, he must know everything, for, if the letter is big, the envelope also must be big. Single quote. Question. This universe is called ratnavati, rich in jewels. There are two kinds of jewels. The B-substantial jewel and the Dharma jewel. What are these jewels, the abundance of which merits the name ratnavati for this universe? Answer. Both kinds of jewels occur in this universe. Furthermore, the many bodhisattvas who inhabit it are also jewels who illumine the nature of things. Note by Kumarajiva. These jewels, namely the great bodhisattvas, serve as a diadem. In the center of this diadem we see the Buddha and we penetrate the nature of all dharmas. As these jewels are numerous, the universe in question is called rich in jewels. There is a Buddha there called Ratnakara, jewel mine. He is so called because he includes the pure faculties, the powers, the path of body and the other jewels of the Dharma. Question. If that is so, all the Buddhas should be called Ratnakara. Why reserve the name Ratnakara for this Buddha alone? Answer. All the Buddhas have these jewels, but this Buddha is the only one to take his name from them. In the same way, Milo is called loving-kindness although all the Buddhas have the same loving-kindness, but Maitreya is the only one to have this as his name. Furthermore, the Buddha Ratnapuspa was named Ratnapuspakamara, Prince of Precious Flowers, because at his birth, all the extremities of his body were adorned with various flowers of brilliant colors. The Buddha Dipamkara was called Dipamkarakumara, Prince, lighter of lamps, because when he was born, all the extremities of his body were like lamps. When he became Buddha, he was still called Dipamkara. It is the same for the Buddha Ratnakara. He was called jewel mine, because, when he was born, many precious substances appeared, whether produced from the earth or whether the gods rained down a whole collection of them. Objections to the plurality of Buddha. Objector. Only the Buddha Sakyamuni exists. The Buddhas of the 10 directions do not exist. Why? Argument number 1. The Buddha Sakyamuni, with his immense power and his immense superknowledges, is capable of saving all beings by himself. There is no need of other Buddhas. It is said that Ananda, absorbed with one pointed mind, said to himself, "The Buddhas of the past, Ratnapuspa, Dipamkara, etc., were all born in marvelous times. Their life was very long and they saved all beings. Then how could the present Buddha, born at a bad time and of short life, save all beings?" These were the questions he asked himself. At dawn, the Buddha, who knew Ananda's thoughts, entered into the daybreak samadhi. Then he emitted rays from all the pores of his skin. Like the sun, he emitted rays the brilliance of which spread successively over Jambudvipa, the 4 continents, the Trisahasramahasahasralokadhatu, and finally over all the innumerable universes of the 10 directions. Then the Bhagavad sent forth from his navel a precious lotus described by the following stanzas. The stem is of green jade. The petals, 1,000 in number, are of yellow gold. The corolla is of diamond. The trimming is of coral. The stem is flexible, without the usual curves, its height is 10 armspans. C. Having the color of green jade. It is planted in the Buddha's navel. Its leaves are broad and long, white in color, striped with marvelous colors. Infinitely precious ornament, the 1,000-petaled lotus. This marvelous lotus of such beautiful colors emerges from the Buddha's navel. On the 4 petals of its corolla precious seats shine with divine light. On each of these seats sits a Buddha. One would call them 4 golden mountain summits. Their light is equal as if one. From the navels of these 4 Buddhas comes a magnificent precious lotus. On each lotus there is a seat, on each seat there is a Buddha. From the navels of all these Buddhas come in turn precious lotuses. On each lotus there is a seat. On each seat there is a Buddha. These successive creations rise up to the Suddhavasa heaven. Whoever would like to know how far, will have to resort to the following comparison. An enormous rock, having the size of a high mountain, thrown from the height of the Suddhavasa, and falling straight down without meeting any obstacle, would take 18,383 years to land on the earth. That is the number of years it would take. In the intermediate space, emanated Buddhas, placed in the center, spread out a brilliant light that surpasses the fires of the sun and moon. Some Buddhas have bodies streaming with water, others have bodies emitting fire, sometimes they appear to walk, sometimes they are seated in silence. Some Buddhas go to beg their food.